As Israel fights back against Hamas's terror, we hope you'll continue to support the Zionist cause. Click the Super Thanks button down below if you enjoyed this video and would like to subscribe to our channel. Israel has begun a ground battle against Hamas militants in the Gaza Strip. There is a line of Merkava for Malawi and Kwacha's main battle tanks, M113 armored personnel vehicles, and M109 Paladin 155mm self-propelled howitzers along the southern Israeli border with Gaza. This vital operation is supposed to aid in the release of American and Israeli hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza. First, the IDF used drones to fly over Gaza and locate key Hamas operatives. After these flights, the IDF said it launched missile attacks against key Hamas command and ammunition facilities. Israeli military footage shows numerous rockets hitting and destroying designated Hamas installations. The Israeli Air Force also bombed and damaged 12 buildings in Gaza. The Al-Karama skyscrapers west of Gaza City were the target of an IDF attack. It seems the intended victim was hiding below ground. IDF surveillance flights into Gaza continued after numerous Hamas targets were destroyed. Israeli naval vessels equipped with IHASs and source detection systems were reportedly involved, according to shore-based reports. The IDF was able to locate key evidence about the whereabouts of Hamas hostages in Gaza as a result of this operation. The Israeli Defense Forces subsequently launched assaults in Gaza in an effort to destroy terror cells and infrastructure and free captives from Hamas's grasp. The IDF and Hamas militants fought fierce battles throughout these attacks. Israeli forces released footage showing a large number of Hamas militants being killed during the fighting. This Israeli military rescue operation was referred to as a localized entry by the Israeli Defense Forces. That is to say, the IDF has not fully entered Gaza City but is still conducting raids to eliminate Hamas members in select areas. It has been confirmed by Israeli media that Israeli troops have not advanced further into Gaza. After these declarations, Hamas rocket fire from Gaza increased significantly. Residents of Gaza continued to flood the city's southern neighborhoods after the Israeli invasion. According to the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, tens of thousands of residents have abandoned their homes in Gaza after the Israeli military urged more than 1 million people residing in the northern Gaza Valley to migrate south. According to the statement, almost 400,000 people in Gaza had to flee their homes before the alert was issued. Meanwhile, the World Food Programme reported that they had fed 135,000 people in Gaza shelters but that they were running low on humanitarian goods. Until Tuesday, Israel will continue cutting off Gaza's access to utilities and humanitarian aid. The Tel Aviv government has not only maintained its limitations on Gaza but also kept its 360,000 Yeti soldiers busy. Many Israeli citizens have arrived in the nation today in order to enlist in the military. However, Israel has given its civilians access to over 4,200 rifles, firearms, and other pieces of military equipment. Israeli citizens cannot legally own firearms if they have a criminal record. Hamas's response has been to maintain tunnel infrastructure in Gaza while issuing warnings to locals to stay put. The IDF claims that the extremist group likely intends to employ civilians in Gaza as a human shield. Despite this, Israel's military is bombing the Gaza Strip and other parts of the country in an effort to weaken Hamas' grip on power. Hezbollah in northern Lebanon and Hamas in the south both pose threats to Israel. This morning, the Israeli military revealed that, in response to firing from southern Lebanon, one of its drones had successfully struck a Hezbollah target. An IDF drone was shot down, and unidentified flying objects were spotted over Israel, according to a statement released by the Israeli military. The Israel Defense Forces said that multiple Hezbollah sites had been destroyed as a direct result of these attacks. 2 more powerful explosions occurred in southern Lebanon. Militants from Hamas and Hezbollah continue to use paramotors to fly from these territories into northern Israel. Due to the widespread emergency in Israel, the U.S. Department of State has indicated that the Rafah border crossing may be open and evacuations may take place. As a result of Israeli airstrikes, this crossing has been closed. The crossing point, however, has recently been made public and is open for usage. Egypt has not taken any measures to improve the situation at the Rafah border crossing, which is crucial for the evacuation of Gazans. A few days ago, the government of the Sisi stopped Gazans from entering the country. In other words, nothing has changed. If Hamas attacks were to increase and Israel's ground operations were to extend, perhaps Egypt might intervene to protect civilians. However, the next question is what will occur. While the IDF does more than possibly any other army in the world to avoid civilian casualties, hundreds, if not thousands, of Gazans, many Israelis, and many hostages are still certain to lose their lives. As a result of the enemy's brazen use of people as human shields in a densely populated area like Gaza, civilian casualties are unavoidable. Hamas is giving up its rights under the Geneva Conventions by breaking the laws of war. Israel will likely aim to eliminate or capture Hamas's top brass, but what about the organization's rank-and-file members? Many of Hamas's lower-level fighters are defecting, claiming they were coerced into joining the organization. Similar arguments were made during the de-Baathification of Iraq. However, individuals making such arguments have compromised their morals in Gaza and Iraq in order to make money. Baathists' readmission to society in Iraq fueled new uprisings. This necessitates a huge exodus of Hamas members from the area. The exchange of such people between Arab countries has precedent. Most notably, in 1970, Jordan expelled members of the PLO. Where will Hamas militants go if the group continues to disintegrate? Even though the leadership in Tehran denies it, Iran is a real possibility. Unfortunately, if Hamas were not handled as a criminal organization, it would indicate Tehran's own loss, and the Iranian people would be terrified. Despite this, Iran is still considered a pivotal player in this conflict. Hamas cannot defeat Israel without outside assistance. Combined with continued strikes from Hezbollah and Iranian-backed militants in Syria, an uprising in the West Bank might drag Israel into its first two-front war since 1973. Given these circumstances, Iran may decide to assume responsibility for guarding Hamas militants. However, given the available territory and Qatar's long-standing funding of the organization, Qatar may be the greatest destination for Hamas terrorists, which it already accommodates in the thousands. Egypt, unlike Qatar, has no interest in regaining sovereignty over the Gaza Strip. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi avoids the area because it has descended into a radical hotbed. The future of the Gaza Strip is now uncertain. Israel could, in theory, conquer the city. In accordance with the Oslo Accords of 1993, Palestinians were expected to renounce their participation in terrorist activities before being allowed to return to the Gaza Strip. On the other hand, Israel is not particularly interested in imposing its will on the more than 1 million Palestinians who side with its adversaries. It is common knowledge that a number of countries and organizations have provided assistance to the people of Gaza in their efforts to recover from the devastation caused by the war. Naturally, Israel is of the opinion that the United Nations should not be involved in this matter. The funding that was intended for Gaza but went to EUNS instead went to Iranian NGOs, effectively rewarding Hamas. As the unfolding of this distressing situation continues, we will be reporting live from the front lines. We are grateful that you have been keeping up with us.